What are some non-conference home and home series you'd like to see in the future? For me, it's Florida State and Auburn.
Okay. What do you think about that, bud? Florida State, Auburn.
I think it's a pretty natural, geographic one, right? They haven't. I'm trying to think the last time they played, other than the title game there in 2013, and I don't recall them having a home and home series in quite a while. There's a little bit of a Bowden family connection there with Terry Bowden and Bobby, obviously, from back in the day. And I think Auburn canceled a series with Florida State maybe in the late 90s or early 2000s. So there may be a little more additional rivalry there. They do kind of butt up against each other in recruiting some, because they both recruit the Panhandle, South Georgia, Columbus area, and also Auburn recruits Florida a decent bit. So there's some natural kind of rivalry there a little bit. So that'd be pretty cool to see.
So one of my first picks would be also involving Auburn. I think it would be fun to have a regular home and home. This would never happen because I guess just a one-time home and home, I guess, not necessarily a recurring home and home, but I think it'd be fun to have an Auburn, Michigan home and home. As basically like Auburn is sort of living in the Nick Saban shadow right now. Michigan is sort of living in the Urban shadow right now. So I just think it would be fun to see like these two programs play each other, Auburn and Michigan, and just sort of see who's the better second fiddle. I think Auburn or Michigan fans probably would hate to hear that, so I apologize. I mean, no disrespect, but like, hey, Ohio State's crushing it right now. Alabama's crushing it right now. Who is the better second fiddle in that rivalry when they play head to head? I just think that could be a kind of a cool dynamic.
That's sort of your crabs in a bucket game, if you will. I had Florida, Michigan listed for somewhat the same reasons. Now I don't think Florida's second fiddle to Georgia to the same extent that Michigan is second fiddle to Ohio State. So I'll go ahead and cross that off. I'm going to go really off the beaten path here. I want to see South Carolina, Michigan State, right? Two teams who are still trying to win games, 17-14. They're similar like rankings, I think, within their conferences. Like neither are top 5 programs, top 6 programs within their conferences. They're fairly evenly matched. I mean, Michigan State's in a little bit easier league, so they have generally about a win more per year than South Carolina does. But like, I want to see Muschamp, Mel Tucker, right? I want to see defense, who can try to pass the ball less than 10 times in the game, and just people like to stop and look at car wrecks. That'd be one I want to see.
All right, so I have Michigan State with one as well.
Okay,
but I have Michigan State and Utah, like
Ooh.
just two just gritty, nasty, tough programs that find resourceful ways of winning on the field and have had their cycle up years, but typically are just sort of that tough game nobody wants to play in the conference. I just think that'd be like two big Rams button heads. That dynamic, I think, sounds fun to me.
I love it. All right. Give me Bama and Ohio State. It's obvious, but we need it, right? I mean, like, when's the last time these two played? Was it the Zeke Elliott game?
I guess, yeah, would have been.
I mean, Bama fans want revenge. They've been the top 2 programs in college football, other than maybe Clemson, over the last decade. This just needs to happen. We need a home and home. I don't want this at some Jerry World thing. I want Ohio State fans in Tuscaloosa. I want Bama fans in Columbus. Like, really high quality athletes all over. Good storylines, like crazy. This is the hell. How many shots of Urban Meyer up in the luxury box do we have?
yeah, that'd be a popular one. Urban in the luxury box. Who else are we going to have out there? It would be, we probably have a lot of NFL guys on the sidelines, a lot of trash talking on Twitter between NFL teammates, a lot of bets being made. I'm with you. That's like two Goliaths, two juggernauts going at it. So that would be fun. I've got 2 more. One I like here. I like the idea of a Miami USC home and home. Like two, I'd say it's probably safe to say right now, two underachieving programs in beautiful climates and environments with incredibly rich traditions. And let's just see who can climb on the top of the other one and boost themselves back into relevancy. I think those two programs getting together every year, like, it just makes a lot of sense to me, just in terms of the identity of those schools and their football tradition.
I had the same one. That's
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here crossing it off. It that needs to happen. Like among these that are fun, like Bama, Ohio State, and USC, Miami. Those just need to happen. Get that done.
Just makes sense. So it's logical.
I've got two more.
All
right. And we already talked about it on the show. Longhorns, Aggies.
Oh yeah,
I know you guys aren't rivals, but come on. I
should have had that on mine. Like, there's no question they should be playing.
Yeah, that just needs to happen. It's crazy that that's not a conference game anymore, and that you have that many passionate people in that state who get to trash talk each other at the water cooler every day, back when we still used offices, and yet there's no way to settle it, right? And so instead they're like, oh, well, if you take out Brew McCoy of the recruiting rankings, technically A&M is like 0.02 higher. I'm like, it'd be really cool if we had like an on-field result to measure who was better this year. That'd be neat.
It's also like a release valve on every time a Texas guy goes down in our rankings or goes up, or an A&M guy goes down in our rankings or goes up. It is such a hot button issue with those two fan bases because they got nothing else to gripe about. Like, they have nothing else to brag about. And so recruiting rankings is like the only way they can actually compete in football. And so I would appreciate getting that thing scheduled so that people could just cool it a little bit when the natural adjustments of a recruiting cycle are made for their commits.
I've got two more here. This is kind of a shout out for Florida State fans because I know they want it. Florida State, Georgia Tech has to play in years that they don't play. It's one of those non-conference games that you could schedule against a conference team because that's their closest geographic rival within the ACC, and they only play them once every 6 years, which is kind of crazy. And I know FSU fans want more games they can actually drive to. Probably the same for Georgia Tech fans. And then give me Oklahoma State, Arizona State. I just feel like that'd be a fun, like, shootout, evenly matched home and home series between two sort of like quality second tier teams. It'd be wide open, but also like pretty athletic. You know, it wouldn't be no defense, but there'd be some points scored.
So Florida State fans are pining for a Georgia Tech home and home?
Not due to the fact they love Georgia Tech. They just, I know they want to play that game regularly because they used to play it like their first 20 years in the ACC until they switched to the divisional format. And now they basically have to, like, if you live in Tampa, you have to fly to every single Florida State road game with the exception of Miami. Like, you're not driving.
So they're just looking for a reasonably close regular opponent.
Yeah.
I got you. Interesting. Would have never guessed that. Yeah, the only last one I have is Oklahoma, Georgia. I mean, we saw how great that game was in the Rose Bowl a couple years ago. And I just think there's such great mirror image programs. One is offensive guru. One is a defensive guru. One comes from an offense happy conference. One comes from a defense happy conference. Is the Oklahoma defense no good, or do they just play in a really good conference? Is the Georgia offense no good, or do they just play in a really good conference? These guys just sort of like the balance of where does the total land, the point total land at the end of that game would just be, I just think, a fun annual tradition, or at least couple year run where we get to see it.